The galaxy abandoned this ship. A human mechanic reforged it into a weapon. The scrapyard of Orion Station stretched for miles, a sprawling graveyard of metal and machines. Rusted starships leaned at odd angles, their paint flaking, their engines cold and silent. Among the alien traders and scavengers, one figure moved like a shadow. Jax Rylan, a human mechanic with a knack for seeing potential where others saw only junk. Jax's boots crunched over broken panels and scattered tools as he scanned the rows of abandoned ships. His dark hair was tied back in a loose ponytail, and his hands bore the calluses of someone who had spent every waking hour fixing things most people had given up on. Humans were rare in Orion's station, and he knew the aliens doubted them. They said humans were fragile, simple, and reckless. That was exactly why Jax liked being here. He thrived where others saw limits. At the far end of the scrapyard, half buried under a collapsed docking platform, Jax's eyes caught something unusual. A massive starship, older than any he had ever seen, sat quietly, its hull scarred and rusted. Its name was barely visible, etched faintly in chipped silver letters. Starbreaker. Every trader who passed by ignored it, muttering, "Worthless." "No one can fix that old thing." Jax crouched and ran his fingers over the hull. Despite the rust, he felt it, a strange vibration, almost like the ship was alive. His heart raced. Humans had a tendency to bond with machines, and he felt an immediate connection with this forgotten giant. "Why does no one want it?" he muttered to himself. "Because it's junk," a gruff alien voice said. Jax looked up to see a Triac, a tall, three-armed trader, leaning against a hovering cart. Its skin shimmered blue, and its eyes were like liquid silver. "Even if you buy it, it'll collapse before you even reach your workshop. Don't waste your credits." Jax smiled faintly. "Aliens never understood humans. Where they saw weakness, he saw opportunity." "Sometimes junk just needs the right hands," he replied. The Triac snorted and shuffled away, uninterested in arguing with a human. Jax dusted off the remaining debris and examined the entry hatch. It was locked, but locks were never a problem for him. With a few twists of his tools, the hatch creaked open, revealing the interior, dark, silent, and empty save for the faint hum of dormant systems. He stepped inside carefully. The air was stale and dust covered everything, but Jax's eyes sparkled with excitement. This ship was a challenge, a puzzle left unsolved. He ran his hand along the control console, noting the complexity of the panels. Alien symbols adorned the screens, and some sections were covered with plates of unknown alloys. It was old, yes, but not beyond repair. This could be something else," he whispered. Over the next few days, Jax returned to the scrapyard, sneaking around to study the Starbreaker. He took careful notes, mapping out its structure and imagining the upgrades he could make. Every broken circuit and rusted panel became a mental blueprint for what the ship could become. Humans were invented by nature, and Jax's mind raced with possibilities. He didn't just see a ship. He saw a weapon of ingenuity, a testament to human creativity. One evening, as the orange light of Orion Station's twin suns glinted off the hull, Jax made his decision. He gathered his small savings, just 7 credits, nearly nothing by alien standards, and approached the scrapyard owner. "I want the Starbreaker," he said, keeping his voice steady. The owner, a grizzled alien called Morik, blinked. "You? A human? That ship? You'll never get it working. You'll lose everything." Jax met his gaze calmly. "I can fix it. Trust me." Morik studied him for a long moment, then shrugged. 7 credits. It's yours. Don't come crying when it collapses on you." With that, Jax arranged for the ship to be towed to his private workshop, a cavernous hangar filled with spare parts, half-finished projects, and the scent of oil and metal. Here, humans like him thrived. The clutter was creativity. The chaos was inspiration. The first thing he did was assess the damage. Rust covered the outer hull, engines were dead, and the navigation systems were outdated by centuries. But Jax was not discouraged. He ran diagnostics and scanned the ship's memory banks. The readings were fragmented, incomplete, but there was a faint trace of advanced alien technology, something no human or alien had fully understood. Jax's pulse quickened. "So you're hiding secrets, huh?" he murmured, a grin spreading across his face. He didn't know exactly what the tech was yet, but he knew it was valuable and powerful. Most aliens would have abandoned it out of fear or ignorance, but humans thrived on challenges. Over the next week, Jax began cleaning and repairing the ship. He scrubbed rust, replaced corroded wires, and rewired circuits. He improvised parts from scraps, human ingenuity at work. The ship creaked and groaned as if protesting, but Jax treated it gently, coaxing it back to life. Every night, he stayed in the hangar long after the station's lights dimmed, working by the glow of portable lamps. The hum of the ship grew louder, and sometimes he swore he could hear faint mechanical whispers, like it was responding to him. One day, while exploring a lower deck, Jax stumbled across a sealed chamber. The door was covered in alien runes, symbols he didn't recognize. He ran his fingers over the panel and realized the lock was bio-coded, meant to respond to a human hand. His heart raced. Humans were rare in this sector, and this was likely intentional. He placed his hand on the scanner. The panel glowed, and with a hiss, the door slid open. Inside was a small chamber filled with alien crystals and dormant systems, a core that seemed to pulse with energy even in its sleep. Jax's eyes widened. This is what powers you," he whispered. He realized that this ship had not just been abandoned, it had been designed to be almost untouchable, and only someone clever enough could unlock its full potential. For the first time, he felt the weight of the task ahead. Restoring the Starbreaker wasn't just about fixing an old ship. It was about reviving something the galaxy had given up on. And humans, he thought proudly, were exactly the species for that job. The days blurred together as Jax worked tirelessly. He welded, soldered, and reprogrammed. He improvised solutions that no alien engineer would have thought of. He created modular systems, allowing the ship to adapt and change, a reflection of the human mind, flexible, inventive, unstoppable. Word of the ship began to spread quietly through Orion Station. Alien traders peeked into his hangar, curious and wary. Some scoffed. "A human? He'll ruin it," they whispered. Others were quietly impressed. Humans had a reputation for doing the impossible, but the galaxy refused to take them seriously. One night, after a particularly long day, Jax stepped back and surveyed his work. The Starbreaker was still far from complete, but the hum of its systems was stronger, more vibrant. It was awakening. Jax ran his hands along the control panel and smiled. "We'll show them," he said softly. The galaxy had abandoned this ship. The galaxy had doubted humans. But he and the Starbreaker would change that. He turned off the lights in the hangar and stepped outside. The twin suns were setting, casting long shadows across the scrapyard. He looked back at the ship, a massive silhouette against the fading light, and felt a thrill unlike any other. The journey had only just begun. Somewhere deep inside the ship, hidden in its alien core, something stirred. It seemed to recognize him, responding in faint pulses of light. Jax didn't understand it fully yet, but he would. He had to, 'cause when the Starbreaker was ready, the galaxy would never ignore humans again. And for the first time, Jax allowed himself to imagine it. A human, alone but unbowed, taking what the galaxy threw away and turning it into a weapon of ingenuity. Not for war, not for conquest, but for proving that humans against all odds could do what no one else dared. And in that moment, Jax felt the pulse of the ship, the pulse of humanity itself, strong, steady, and ready. The Starbreaker was no longer abandoned, and neither was humanity. The hangar was quiet except for the soft hum of the Starbreaker. Its systems were slowly coming back to life, responding to Jax's careful repairs. Every panel lit up, every wire hummed, and every engine core pulsed with a faint glow. The ship, abandoned and forgotten, seemed almost alive in the human mechanic's hands. Jax wiped his hands on his overalls and stared at the central console. "All right, old friend," he muttered. "Let's see what secrets you're hiding." He began the next stage of repairs, exploring the ship's interior for hidden compartments, blocked circuits, and damaged modules. The Starbreaker was old, older than any human ship in Orion Station. Its design was elegant but alien, with curves and angles Jax had never seen. There were entire systems he didn't understand yet, but that was the fun part. Humans thrived on puzzles, and this ship was the ultimate challenge. As he walked through the lower decks, Jax noticed something strange. The airlocks weren't responding normally. Panels flickered with symbols he couldn't decipher, and soft vibrations ran through the floor. Something inside the ship seemed to be reacting to him. He knelt and scanned the nearest console with a portable tool. The reading made his jaw tighten. A hidden core buried deep inside the ship was active, but dormant. It responded to him. Somehow, the ship had recognized that he was human. That's new," Jax whispered. He had never encountered anything like it. Humans were considered fragile, unfit to operate advanced alien machinery. Yet here he was, the ship acknowledging his presence, almost as if it trusted him. Excited, Jax dug deeper. He traced the power lines to a sealed chamber beneath the main engine room. The door was made of a strange alloy, unbroken by age, and covered in alien symbols. Jax ran his hand over it, and for the first time he noticed something remarkable. The door had a bioscan system, keyed to human DNA. No alien could unlock it, but a human hand, like his, triggered the mechanism. The door hissed open. Inside was a room filled with strange crystals and dormant alien devices, pulsing faintly with energy. Jax felt a thrill run through him. "So this is it," he murmured. "This is the power everyone ignored." He studied the crystals carefully. They were like nothing he had ever seen, radiating energy in patterns that almost seemed intelligent. He had no idea how they worked, but he knew one thing: they were the heart of the ship's hidden weapon systems. Most aliens had abandoned the ship because they didn't understand it. Humans didn't always need to understand everything. We learned, adapted, and improvised. For days, Jax worked tirelessly. He cleaned the crystals, realigned the conduits, and began linking the dormant systems to the ship's main power grid. He improvised solutions using spare parts, old engines, and even discarded alien tech he had collected from Orion Station. Every modification was a gamble, but every success made the ship hum louder, more confident, as if approving his work. Late one night, a series of alarms rang out. Jax spun around, heart racing, only to see the ship's engine core glow brighter than ever. Panels lit up with alien symbols, flickering as if trying to communicate. A holographic map projected in front of him, showing sectors of the galaxy, unexplored systems, and dormant weapons. Jax's mind raced. This ship! It was a legend, he realized aloud. A warship, feared by everyone, and they abandoned it because they thought no one could use it. But I can.
He grinned. Humans were underestimated everywhere.
That had always been their strength. Where aliens saw limits, humans saw challenges. Where aliens feared failure, humans thrived on it. And here, with the Starbreaker, Jax felt the full weight of that potential. The next morning, he ran more tests. He activated the navigation systems, and for the first time, the ship's engines roared softly, as if stretching after a long sleep. The panels displayed readings for energy output, shield integrity, and propulsion efficiency. It wasn't perfect yet, but it was alive. Then came the first real test, the hidden weapon systems. He approached the control console with caution. Using his knowledge of circuits and improvisation, he linked the alien core to the main systems. Lights flashed, and the ship's internal systems aligned. A holographic interface appeared, displaying the ship's weapon arrays. Jax froze. He had expected standard alien weapons, but what he saw was far more advanced. Energy cannons, adaptive shields, and a targeting system that could learn and adjust in real time. In the wrong hands, this would have been terrifying. In his hands, it was proof that humans could do the impossible. Just then, a faint rumble shook the hangar. Jax looked up to see a small group of alien scavengers peering in. They had heard rumors of the human working on the Starbreaker. Curiosity and suspicion had drawn them here. "Hey, human!" one called, a green-skinned Velcor with 4 arms and sharp teeth. That ship doesn't belong to you! Step away! Jack stood firm. It's mine. I bought it. Now leave! The Velcor scoffed and stepped closer. Jax noticed that the aliens were armed, but he didn't panic. He had anticipated this. Using his knowledge of the ship, he activated a series of defensive systems, not weapons, but traps, shields, and automated deterrents designed to delay intruders. The Velcor lunged toward the hangar, and Jax triggered a gravity field barrier, throwing the intruders off balance. Another panel released a non-lethal net of electromagnetic strands, capturing their hover devices. The aliens cursed and stumbled, utterly confused. Jax smirked. Humans are never easy to predict, he muttered. He watched as the Velcor and his companions fled, humiliated. Alone again, Jax returned to the ship's core. The encounter had reminded him of something vital. The galaxy didn't respect humans because it had never seen what humans could truly do. Every obstacle, every doubt, every mocking alien was fuel for him. Humans didn't rely on raw strength. They relied on brains, creativity, and courage. Over the following weeks, Jax continued the upgrades. He reinforced the hull with human-engineered alloys, optimized the engines, and began installing adaptive systems. Shields that could reconfigure mid-flight, sensors that could detect anomalies others missed, and energy conduits that could reroute power instantly. The Starbreaker was no longer just a ship. It was a testament to human ingenuity. A machine that learned, adapted, and evolved with its pilot. One evening, while running final diagnostics, Jax noticed something extraordinary. The alien core began to pulse in sync with his heartbeat. Lights danced along the corridors, and the ship seemed to respond to his thoughts. He could sense its systems, anticipate its reactions, and guide it like a partner rather than a machine. This is beyond anything I imagined, he whispered. The Starbreaker was awakening, and it was awakening for him. Yet there was still one missing piece. The core was powerful, but to fully unlock the ship's weapon systems, Jax needed a final component, an alien crystal hidden in a dangerous, uncharted sector of the galaxy. It was a place no human had ever gone, a region full of asteroid storms, rogue satellites, and failing navigation beacons. Jax studied the maps, tracing routes and calculating risks. Every path was perilous, every choice critical, but humans thrived on challenges. Where others saw impossible odds, he saw opportunity. He leaned back in the captain's chair, staring at the slowly spinning holographic galaxy. "We're going to need a little adventure," he said, grinning. The Starbreaker pulsed softly in response, almost as if agreeing. The human mechanic had transformed a forgotten ship into something remarkable, yet the journey was far from over. Ahead lay uncharted space, ancient alien secrets, and challenges no one could predict. But Jax didn't fear the unknown. He welcomed it, because humans were designed to thrive where others failed. As the suns of Orion Station set, painting the scrapyard in gold and orange, Jax made a quiet vow. The galaxy had abandoned this ship. It had doubted him. But soon, he thought, the galaxy would have no choice but to recognize the power of human ingenuity. And with that thought, he prepared for the next stage of his journey. A voyage into the unknown, where only brains, courage, and creativity would see him and the Starbreaker through. The adventure was only beginning. The Starbreaker floated silently in the docking bay, its systems fully operational. Jax Ryland stood on the bridge, fingers brushing over the control panels. The ship pulsed softly, almost in rhythm with his heartbeat. It was ready. Almost. There was one final piece to complete the upgrades. The ancient alien crystal hidden deep within an uncharted sector of the galaxy. No human had ever gone there. Most aliens avoided it, claiming it was cursed. Others said it was too dangerous, filled with asteroid storms, unstable gravitational fields, and failing navigation beacons. But Jax smiled. Humans thrived on danger. Humans thrived where others failed. Looks like it's just us, old friend, he said softly to the ship. Time to prove what humans can do. He charted the course. The uncharted sector was a tangle of hazards. Rogue asteroids drifted in unpredictable orbits. Space debris from ancient battles floated like floating tombstones. The navigation signals were weak, and no map could be fully trusted. Still, Jax was confident. He tapped a few keys, rerouting power to the Starbreaker's adaptive sensors, a system he had designed himself. It could scan the environment, anticipate changes, and adjust course instantly. Humans weren't fast like some aliens, but they were clever. And cleverness often mattered more than speed. The moment he hit the thrusters, the Starbreaker surged forward. Its engines roared, sending vibrations through the hull. Dust from decades of neglect rose in the hangar as the ship lifted off. Jax leaned back in his chair, a grin spreading across his face. The journey began. Hours passed as he navigated the edge of known space. The first obstacle appeared sooner than expected, a dense field of asteroids tumbling and spinning in chaotic patterns. Any wrong move could crush the ship instantly. Jax studied the holographic display. The field was too chaotic for standard autopilot. He had to rely on human intuition, patterns, timing, and quick thinking. He rerouted power to the adaptive shields, then guided the ship manually, weaving between massive rocks with precision. The hull groaned under stress, but the ship responded perfectly to every adjustment. Hours became days. The sector was more dangerous than he anticipated. Rogue satellites drifted with broken communication arrays, creating invisible electric fields. Gravity wells appeared without warning, pulling the Starbreaker dangerously close. Each hazard required immediate calculation, split-second decisions, and sometimes improvisation. At one point, a massive asteroid spun directly into his path. No autopilot could have reacted in time. Jax gritted his teeth, his hands moving rapidly across the controls. He activated a reverse thrust combined with a vector shift, and the ship twisted through a narrow gap, the asteroid grazing the hull. Sparks flew, but the ship held.
Not bad, he muttered, patting the console. Humans adapt.
Always. The deeper he ventured, the stranger the environment became. The stars themselves seemed scattered oddly, distant suns flickering in unnatural colors. Ancient debris from long-forgotten civilizations floated by, fragments of alien battleships, twisted metal, and massive shields that drifted in silence. Jax's heart raced. He was alone in a sector the galaxy had forgotten, navigating chaos that no alien dared to enter. It was exhausting but exhilarating. This was what humans did best, solving problems where others froze in fear. Several days into the journey, the Starbreaker's sensors picked up a faint signal. A pulse unlike any natural phenomenon. Jax adjusted the display. The pulse emanated from a massive asteroid cluster, a labyrinth of rock and ice barely mapped in any database. It was the final resting place of the alien crystal. "This is it," Jax whispered. "Time to finish what we started." Approaching the cluster, he immediately noticed the danger. The asteroids moved unpredictably, some spinning rapidly, others breaking apart mid-orbit. Magnetic anomalies interfered with navigation, and radiation spikes threatened the ship's core. Any miscalculation would destroy the Starbreaker in seconds. Jax's fingers flew across the controls. He activated the adaptive shields, rerouted power to the engines, and used his improvised mapping system to predict asteroid trajectories. Humans weren't naturally fast, but they could think, adapt, and invent solutions in real time. And that made all the difference. The ship twisted and turned, narrowly avoiding collisions. One massive rock nearly hit the hull. Jax calculated its trajectory in his head, then triggered a gravity pulse, shifting the asteroid just enough to let the ship pass. Sparks flew across the control panels, but the ship survived. As he moved deeper into the cluster, he finally saw it. The alien crystal. It hovered inside a small, hollow asteroid, glowing faintly with energy. The colors shifted, almost alive, like it was aware of his approach. Jax's heart pounded. He knew this crystal was the key to fully activating the Starbreaker's weapon systems. Without it, the ship would remain powerful but incomplete. With it, humans would command a machine that no alien could match. He maneuvered the ship closer, but the crystal was guarded by an automated alien defense system, long dormant but still functional. Energy beams crisscrossed the chamber, ready to incinerate anything that touched the crystal. Most species would have turned away, but humans thrived on challenges. Jack studied the patterns. The beams moved in loops, predictable if timed carefully. He activated the Starbreaker's shields to deflect stray energy and used the adaptive systems to mirror the beam patterns. Then, with precise timing, he guided the ship through the chamber. Every second was a calculation. Every movement mattered. Sweat ran down his face, but Jax's hands moved like second nature. He adjusted power, twisted the ship, and in one flawless maneuver reached the crystal. Using the Starbreaker's robotic arm, he gently extracted it. The energy inside pulsed strongly, resonating with the ship. "Got you!" he whispered, smiling. The moment he installed the crystal into the core, the ship hummed louder than ever. Lights flickered across every panel. Energy flowed through the conduits in perfect harmony. The Starbreaker was complete, but there was no time to celebrate. The extraction had triggered the defense system fully. Alarms rang, and the asteroid cluster began to shift violently. Rocks tumbled unpredictably, some breaking apart into fragments. Jax had to escape before the whole cluster collapsed. He activated full power, the engines roaring. The adaptive shields absorbed impacts as the ship twisted and weaved through the chaotic field. Every maneuver was precise. Every calculation life or death. The galaxy had abandoned this place, but humans thrived where others feared. Finally, after a tense few minutes, the cluster cleared. Jax let out a long breath, smiling despite the exhaustion. He had done it. The crystal was secured, and the ship was fully operational. The Starbreaker, abandoned and forgotten, was now a living testament to human ingenuity. As he looked at the controls, Jax realized something profound. The ship was more than just metal and circuits. It was a partner, responding to his thoughts, anticipating his actions, and complementing his skills. Humans weren't the strongest species in the galaxy. They weren't the fastest. But they were clever, resourceful, and fearless in the face of the impossible. And that made all the difference. With the final piece in place, Jax set a new course, back to Orion Station, where the galaxy had doubted humans. The Starbreaker hummed in agreement, ready for anything. But even as they traveled home, Jax knew the real test was still ahead. The galaxy had abandoned the ship. It had doubted him. Now it would see the full power of human innovation. And humans were ready to show it. The adventure wasn't over. It was just about to begin. The Starbreaker glided silently through the void, its engines humming with power. Every panel glowed with energy, and every system responded instantly to Jack's touch. The ship was no longer abandoned. It was alive. And it was human-made. Jax Reelin leaned back in the captain's chair, staring out at the stars. The uncharted sector, with its dangers and mysteries, was behind him. Ahead lay Orion Station, the heart of trade and travel in this part of the galaxy, and ahead lay the real test, showing the galaxy what humans could do.
He knew the aliens would watch. They had dismissed him, laughed at humans for being weak and fragile.
They had abandoned the Starbreaker because they thought no human could ever control it. Soon, they would learn how wrong they were. As he approached Orion Station, Jax noticed the usual crowd of traders, scavengers, and travelers. Among them, whispers spread like wildfire. Alien voices muttered, "The human, he survived the uncharted sector? Impossible." "No human could," Jax smiled. "Let them talk." Humans didn't need permission to do the impossible. Humans thrived where others feared. He docked the Starbreaker in his hangar, and immediately the station buzzed with activity. Aliens came to see the ship for themselves. They had heard rumors. Some called it a ghost ship. Others said it was cursed. Now, they were about to witness the truth. The hangar doors opened, and the Starbreaker emerged, massive and gleaming. Its hull shone under the station lights, enhanced by Jax's upgrades. Energy lines pulsed across the ship's surface, showing life, power, and precision. A group of alien traders approached, their expressions a mix of awe and disbelief. Among them were triacs, velkers, and even a few mysterious beings Jax had never seen before. This is the human ship? One velkor asked, eyes wide. Jax stepped forward confidently. It's ours, he said simply. Mine. And it's fully operational. They laughed at first. A human? Operating a legendary warship? That's impossible, Jax smirked. You think humans are weak. You think we're fragile. But we're clever. We adapt, and we never give up. With that, he activated the ship's systems. Lights danced along the hull, weapons arrays unfolded, not to fire, but to demonstrate capability. Energy shields shimmered in colors no alien had ever seen. Sensors scanned the area, mapping every ship, every structure, and every obstacle in real time. The aliens gasped. They had never seen a ship respond to a pilot like this. The Starbreaker moved almost instinctively, weaving between cargo containers, scanning threats, and demonstrating agility that no alien warship could match. Jax guided it through a series of maneuvers designed to impress, not destroy. He flew close to the station towers, dodging moving cargo cranes, twisting through narrow corridors, and finally hovering over the central plaza. The ship pulsed with energy, glowing like a living creature. Humans, he said quietly, almost to himself. We make the impossible happen. The aliens were silent. They had doubted humans for centuries, and here was a single human controlling a ship they had considered untouchable. A ship that combined alien technology, ancient power, and human ingenuity. Jax wanted to make his point clear. Humans didn't need to conquer or destroy to prove themselves. Intelligence, creativity, and courage were enough. He demonstrated the Starbreaker systems in ways no alien had expected. He rerouted energy to the shields and spun the ship in a perfect circle. The shields formed a glowing dome around the hangar, absorbing small debris and neutralizing simulated hazards. Then he activated the adaptive sensors, scanning the station and plotting a perfect path through its busiest corridors. The ship moved like an extension of his own mind. Next, he showed the alien crystal's power. Energy pulsed through the conduits, lighting up the ship from inside. The crystal amplified the Starbreaker's systems, and the ship responded instantly to every input. Every panel, every weapon mount, every engine thruster moved in perfect harmony. Aliens who had mocked humans before now stared in awe. They had underestimated the human capacity to improvise, innovate, and adapt. And now they could see it clearly. This is incredible, one Triarch whispered. How can a single human control it? Jack smiled, but he didn't answer. Words weren't needed. The ship itself was proof. Humanity, long dismissed as weak and fragile, had created something greater than the galaxy imagined. As the demonstration ended, Jax powered down the system slowly, letting the ship's energy settle. The hangar was silent. Every alien present was still in shock. Some bowed in respect, others simply stared, unable to comprehend what they had seen. Jax stepped out of the cockpit and looked at the Starbreaker. It was no longer just a ship. It was a symbol. A symbol of human ingenuity, persistence, and courage. He turned to the gathered aliens. The galaxy has always underestimated humans. You've doubted us, laughed at us, and ignored us. But here we are. We don't need your permission. We don't need your approval. We adapt. We create. And we survive. The words were simple, but the meaning was clear. Humans were not the weakest species in the galaxy. They were clever, resourceful, and unstoppable when challenged. Over the following days, the Starbreaker became the talk of Orion Station. Aliens from every corner came to see the human who had taken a forgotten ship and transformed it into a marvel. Some offered alliances, others offered trade, and a few even attempted to recruit him. Jax declined politely. The ship belonged to humans. He belonged to no one. The power was not for conquest, it was for proof. Proof that humans could achieve greatness even when the galaxy abandoned them. He continued upgrading the Starbreaker, adding new modules, improving the engines, and refining the systems. Every change was designed to maximize adaptability. Humans thrived on creativity and improvisation, and now the ship reflected that. One night, as he stood on the observation deck, watching the twin suns of Orion Station set, Jax reflected on how far he had come. The ship, once abandoned and forgotten, was now a living testament to human potential. And he, a single human, had unlocked its full power.
The galaxy had doubted him. It had abandoned the ship.
But humans, he realized, never gave up. They never accepted limits imposed by others. And they always found a way. He smiled, thinking of all the challenges ahead. There would be dangers, certainly. Other species would test him. But humans were ready. Humans adapted. And the Starbreaker was proof that even the smallest species could achieve the impossible. With that thought, Jack set the ship on a quiet course into deep space. The Starbreaker pulsed softly, alive and responsive. They were ready for anything. The galaxy had ignored humans for too long. That era was over. And as Jax piloted the ship toward the stars, he knew one thing for certain. Humanity had finally shown the universe what it was truly capable of. The Starbreaker was more than a weapon. It was a symbol of ingenuity, courage, and human brilliance, and the galaxy would never underestimate humans again.